everyone. This is Natalie's podcast.
Thank you.
We've been here for 3 hours. Tell them where they can find you, Natalie.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you'll be able to find me after that. Are we good?
We're good.
All right.
It says we're good.
Are we welcoming them back? Or are we saying hello for the first time? Hello. Welcome to another episode of Help. I'm here with comedian Mike Falzone. We did record 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That were amazing. You can actually catch the audio on Patreon.
Perfect.
Usually I barely post on Patreon, but we do the monthly Zooms. Here we are. I got 20 golden minutes.
Dude, if you think about it, it's actually a more profitable experience now.
Yeah.
So thank God everything happened.
Thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, yeah. So I was asking Mike about...
I have this fucking show that I do, right? It's a crowd work show and it's in a circle. And it's amazing. And it's called Surrounded. And Natalie did it.
Yes.
With your boyfriend, Dan.
Yes.
Who I love very much.
Yeah.
And you guys were fucking great.
And that's the first time we were on stage together.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What's the... I'm going to not ask you the same questions again because I don't want to do that to you. But...
I love it, dude. I love it.
Oh, Surrounded. Okay. Have you ever discovered something? I've had moments with crowd work where people are like, oh, we know each other because our husbands are dead, or this tattoo is for my dead son. Like,
sure.
Do you discover stuff? How do you deal with awkwardness in the crowd like that?
How do I deal with awkwardness in the crowd?
Not necessarily awkwardness, but someone saying something maybe morbid for a comedy show.
Well, there's always you're at a comedy show, so there's always some fun avenue that you could take with it. You just got to make sure everybody's in.
Yeah.
And it's all about like having self-awareness and being able to read people. Like, I think I could read people pretty well. And so you could see if somebody is talking about something that they're having a really hard time with, like their whole demeanor changes, like their posture changes. They're like, don't talk to me about that.
Right.
And then there are people who say like, I don't want to talk about that, but they're clearly like, it's worth mining because, whether it's a breakup or whatever, there's always funny stuff in a breakup. Less funny stuff in a dead husband sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just being able, doing it long enough so you could read people.
Right.
And I always try to, crowd work popped off on the internet and it was a lot of like comic destroys heckler videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really, that's not my vibe. I'm always like, I bet you against your will, you could be friends with me by the end of this.
I like that.
So I'm very like inclusive and I want everybody to have a good time more than I want to be like, fuck this dude's shirt or whatever.
Right.
So I think I have this demeanor. I haven't figured out exactly what it is about me yet that makes people want to tell me stuff and warm up to me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I do have that, whatever that is. So I try to use that to like get these fun, friendly stories. And then you're kind of like, everyone's watching me and this person get to know each other more than it's like, oh, I have to come up with a really funny joke.
Right.
I
like that.
Yeah.
I feel like, so online, I have such an interesting dilemma because my crowd work videos like do really well, but they also are shit on the most because I think some people don't understand crowd work as a concept in general. Like, what is your response to that when that...
Dude, that's so interesting to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, one, who is shitting on these videos?
Yeah.
And two, it's like, why do you care about that?
Right.
And it's like, what do you have going for you in real life? It's like you're touring around with Dan and you guys have great crowds and you show no signs of like stopping. So it's like, I know the negative comments and shit suck to see, especially for women, but it's also like, say what you're going to say because it's not really going to affect what I'm doing in real life. Anyone could fucking have their icon be like a race car or like a meme making a derpy face and hide behind that and a username and say whatever you want, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And I get discouraged for my friends when they get really taken aback by that kind of stuff, because I'm like, consider the source, man. It's like you're doing your dream all the time, and this person is like angry that they're not doing it or whatever it is, but none of that has anything to do with you. They're just somebody in a position where they know if they say something, other people might see it, or you might see it if you look.
Yeah.
But it does, like, it's like, say whatever you want. It's not going to affect real things that are happening.
It's a good point. One thing that has helped me, so I always ask the best advice you ever received, and I had Bonnie McFarlane on, who I love so much.
Yeah, I met her at the stand. She's very nice.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
But then we got lunch after, and she's like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you this advice on the podcast." So I've been meaning to say it on an episode, but she said, when someone is heckling you or trying to be mean, they're just trying to be funny.
Yes.
And I started thinking about it. I'm like, they're just trying to like leave the comment that gets the most likes, or a heckler that's saying something shitty in the audience. Like they're just trying to be funny. And it
Yeah.
actually has helped me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. Because, not everybody has that. And we as comedians don't even have that until
Right.
however many years in.
Yeah.
And it's a skill, but they're trying to do it in the environment that we are like professionals in
Right.
for the first time. And it almost never works out. When does the heckler get a funnier laugh than the comedian? Like, when? Show me those videos, But, everybody wants to be funny.
Yeah.
And everyone's funny in their own right. You could be the funniest person at work and still not be able to like do anything on stage. But, I try to see those as opportunities to be like, if it's super annoying, then I try to shut the person up. But I also want to dig into like why they said what they said and what they thought was going to happen, like the whole Instagram versus reality.
Yeah.
Like, what did you think was going to happen versus like how it's actually going?
100%.
And making everybody see, cutting through what they thought it was going to be and making people see what it actually is kind of a fun experience, because then everybody's getting that like self-awareness,
Right.
if they're open to it.
So you were a musician.
We're right back, by the way. I feel ultra comfortable.
Yes.
It's like the first 20 minutes never gonna happen.
Look at that. Look at that.
Shouldn't have addressed it, but I do feel really good.
I love it. Thank God. Thank God. So, wait, you were a musician, right?
Uh-huh.
What can you tell me
I
about
don't really
that?
want to talk.
You don't want to talk about that?
I'm just kidding.
No, okay. I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah, no. I love doing that forever. I was a musician ever since I could like drive to my gigs, and even before then, I would have like people drop me off to go play acoustic sad boy music.
Yes.
As I got older, I would have like, I was Connecticut forever for the first like 27 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take the train to the city and have bands every now and again. I had like a residency at this place called Uncle Mike's in Tribeca, which I'm positive isn't there anymore. But it's so much fun to, that was my first taste of like traveling around the country and other places I haven't been, and meeting people in places I never thought that I would go to before. And there's just nothing better than that. And when you're a little like hormonal in your feelings, teens and 20s guy,
Yeah.
there's nothing better than, you write songs that you think girls will kiss you to afterwards. And it was a cool way to meet people. And it was, when I got older and had bands, it was fun to be loud with my friends. Towards the end of my career, I ended up meeting some really, really good, talented producers. There was this one guy, Mike Mangini, who found Joss Stone and the Jonas Brothers, and he ended up recording a couple songs for me. And even working with him, I learned so much about the realities of any kind of entertainment industry. And that fucking, the perception versus reality type thing. And so I learned so many really, really good, fun lessons from playing music, and it was so much fun.
When you were on stage, so this is what I've noticed when I love seeing concerts. musicians say so little that when they do, the crowd is like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yes.
dude. The bar is way lower.
Yeah, they're like, thank you. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh my, like it's like their words are so like precious.
Yeah.
Did
Like,
you
imagine if you were a comedian and you just sat down at the piano
Yeah,
and you just played like 4 like beautiful chords. People
Right.
would be like, "What the fuck?"
right, exactly.
It's the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Did
there's that
you
thing like all the, rock stars want to be comedians and vice versa.
Same,
Yeah.
yeah. Did you ever like did you tell jokes in between songs ever or
Yeah.
make little quips like
That's
that?
how the most of the crowd work stuff started. Mike Doty, who's one of my favorite singer-songwriters of all time, he used to have this band out of New York called Soul Coughing.
Mhm.
And then he went and he did solo stuff forever. And he was doing this thing called the Question Jar show for a long time. And he would have people submit anonymous questions into this jar, and he would answer them in between songs. So
I like that.
yeah. So when I realized that I wanted to do comedy stuff, everybody was like, "Well, are you going to be like musical comedian?" And I was like, I don't even know if I could do that." So I wrote some funny songs,
Mhm.
and I ended up I was doing half and half for like 2 years. And that was some of the most fun I've ever had as a musician. Like, I would do a sappy song, and then I would do funny song. I would try to tell jokes in between.
Uh-huh.
I have this record called Zebediah Zebra Pants that I think is still on iTunes. That is exactly that. It was recorded um, during the last tour I ever did as a comedian, and it's half and half music and comedy. And it was like copying that Question Jar show thing. I met my now wife during one of the last Question Jar shows.
Aw.
And it was just so much fun, dude. Doing like several things that you love, and trying to venture into a new thing that you're nervous about, but having the crutch of like the guitar for me was a crutch. And then when I took it
Mm.
away and just started doing straight stand up, it was much, much harder.
Yeah, that's interesting.
hmm
Because I guess you can kind of hide in music.
Yeah. Because if they don't laugh at your shit, you'd be like, well, here's the song.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the best advice you've ever received?
Dude, could I do 2?
Yes.
Because somebody gave me unsolicited advice this morning. I'm staying in Tarrytown right now. I like to stay
Uh-huh.
like halfway between my parents' house and the city.
Mhm.
And I went to the diner, and I'm wearing this Roots hoodie, and this is a very Canadian, this is like the most Canadian thing that you could wear aside from like Mountie uniform. And so everywhere I go, Canadians will come up and talk to me. And this 90-year-old Canadian dude was like, "Are you from Canada? I saw your hoodie." And I was like, "No, I got this in Vancouver. I just love it. It's very soft." And he's like, "I'm 90 and I immigrated here through Canada, and whatever. It's just good to see it. It has a maple leaf on the hood. He's like, good to see the maple leaf and blah blah blah." And he goes, "Watch your diet and save your money. All right, I'll see you later." And I was like, what a fun, I would have sat down and talked to him all morning. 90-year-old
Wow.
Canadian dude. I was like, he's super happy. And I was like, "Tell me what you eat. Like, don't just tell me to watch my diet. Like, how
Watch
do I
my
be 90?"
diet? What
Yeah.
does that mean?
But the greatest stand-up based advice that kind of transcends stand-up
Mhm.
was given to me. I can't attribute it back to the exact person. I don't know exactly who said it. It might have been Steve Hostetter. Um, but he said, I was nervous about hosting at the Laugh Factory for the first time.
Mhm.
And he was like, if you have genuine fun on stage, it gives the audience permission to have fun.
Hmm.
And like, even if the jokes aren't going well, that has been the most impactful advice that I've ever gotten, and it's the most truthful.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you want to do stand up and your jokes aren't good, but you're having legitimate fun on stage, um it comes out of every pore in your body, and the audience can sense that, and they have fun with you, and it makes the whole thing a much better experience than like being nervous and like fumbling through your set and stuff.
I like that advice. I think
Yeah.
remembering to have fun. That's like that root of why you're doing it.
Mhm.
I think people get so caught up in being good that they forget to have fun and make people laugh.
Just know that you're not going to be good for a long time.
Yeah.
And you might have good nights, but
Right.
you won't be like consistently great for a long time, and that's okay because you can still have so much fun on the way
Right.
to being good however you're gonna be good consistently.
I know. I used to think like I used to be like, everyone sucks at first. And I think that's maybe not always true. I definitely
Then you meet someone who's great, you're like, "Fuck that
you're like, never mind.
person."
It's a fluke.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
know why it happened.
Right? And then they do it again
Like,
immediately.
some people have to work harder than others.
Right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
But oh, I was watching Ted Lasso last night, and there's that episode where Roy like reminds him that soccer is fun or football. He's like,
Yeah,
I just wanted to remind you because he was like doing bad in the game, and he's like, I just want to remind you that this is fun. That's why you do it. And I was like, that's such a crossover between stand up
Oh, yeah.
because like when something that you did just because you loved it becomes a career, then sometimes you forget.
Yeah. And it is a lot of hard work, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of things that you have to do above and beyond to be successful in it and to earn a living.
Yeah.
Like, I get bummed out when really good comedians are like, "I don't wanna fucking play the internet game, and I don't wanna cut clips," and, like, so many amazing comedians that I know just want no part of the hard work of, like, doing internet stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I'm sorry you can't just scream into a microphone like it's 1987, and there's, like, 15 comedians total."
Right.
You know, like, the playing field has been leveled, so it's kind of like we're getting to a time where people are realizing and recognizing, like, mediocrity,
Hmm.
and you could rise above that and be the cream if you work really hard, and kind of, either you have to learn how to do the things you don't wanna do, or you have to have a team around you to help you do the things you don't wanna do,
Yeah.
because you gotta be more places than you could in 1992 or whatever, you know?
I
But
think like I edit my clips and all of that. I feel like you do you?
I did for a long time, and
Yeah.
I still will. I have some help now,
Yeah.
but I still will, like, if I have a set that I'm really excited about, or if
Totally.
they're busy doing something else and can't get a clip to me, like, I'll still do it, and I still, as long as I take breaks from it,
Yeah.
because, like, doing YouTube since 2006 for, like, 17 years, it's all I did forever,
Wow.
and I was like, "If I don't get some help, I'm just gonna be, like, standing at my computer forever, and I'm not
Yeah.
gonna have enough time to, like, live life to get material to make jokes, you know?"
I was looking at your YouTube, and
Mhm.
so you would make videos like about advice.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, dude.
What advice resonated the most with people?
A lot of it was like, so I had this near death experience when I was at the tail end of my 20s, like 26. And then when I got out of the hospital, I had this realization that time is the most important thing, and you don't know when your number is going to be called, and tomorrow's not promised, and like all the things that sound very like uh hackneyed and trite, but they're all very real. Like, how many
Hmm.
of us were close to someone who just like wasn't there one day, you know? So it's like I had this mission statement that I would try to save people time based on, like, I wouldn't talk out of my ass. I wouldn't talk about things that I had no experience in. But if I had any experience in it, and if I could use my experience to save somebody else some time, I would do that. So it became like a lot of relationship advice stuff. And I think the thing that resonated the most with a lot of people is like, don't try too hard to love someone who doesn't love you back.
Hmm.
And uh, because there's always someone, like, I don't know. People get so hung up on, like, I'm single, or, am I going to be like this forever? And they try to tell the future in that way.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, dude, just go and have fun and kind of look or don't look. But as long as you're like really enjoying your life, like, again, if you're having fun, that's going to, like, you're going to have this glow about you. It's going to attract other people to you, rather than like being desperate and looking like, as a guy, like, women can sense when you're desperate. Women can sense when you're um not being honest, or whatever. It's like you wear it on you, and you think you might be good enough to suppress all that stuff. But if you're truly happy and you're working really hard, it's like good things come to you. You just don't always get to control when that happens. So I
Huh.
try to, like, impress that upon people.
Interesting. I like
Mhm.
the idea of saving people time, like with the things that you're doing, because I think so many people are actually just trying to create content that it's not about like the value of the words that you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool, like saving time for people by giving them that advice. I I think that is the hardest thing when you have a friend who can't get over someone that doesn't like them back and you're like,
Yeah.
"But you're better than
Yeah,
them."
yeah. Yeah, but if they don't see it for themselves,
Right.
they're not gonna believe it coming from somebody else, you know?
Yeah. So you have a podcast with your wife, right?
Mhm.
And that's about dating too, or
I mean, it's kind of a continuation of those advice videos where
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be about dating, but we say, we'll help you ask us a question about your relationship to something. So it'll either be a person or their job or whatever. And between me and her, like she's a 40-year-old boss Albanian chick. So she's had an incredible life experience and she's very like no bullshit.
Mhm.
And she is just the best person to ask any kind of advice to. So we have people ask us questions and we usually spend like 15 minutes kind of bullshitting and catching up
Mhm.
because it also is an excuse. We have very opposite schedules. So we have like scheduled, hour of hangout time a week. And then we try to just like save people time if we can.
I like that.
Hmm.
Where did the name Welcome to Our Podcast come from?
Dude, we were very early on in the podcast game. So we were able to scoop up a name like Welcome to Our Podcast. It used to be Welcome to the Podcast because there was a Daniel Tosh joke. I'm going to fucking butcher it because it's been so long. There was a Daniel Tosh joke in like 2003 that he wanted to open up a restaurant called Thanks for Calling. How may I help you? So he could pick up the phone and say, Thank you for calling. Thank you for calling. How may I help you? How may I help you? And so that was like the podcast version of
I love
that.
that.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Yeah.
There's this guy that Dan talks about this, like he's like, I got fat because this one guy who was on the other end of the phone at the pizza place where he grew up, every time he'd order something he'd be like, what else?
Yeah.
And like he just kept like, oh, I guess, and fries, like what else? Like
Yeah.
I guess like he just kept adding stuff. It
Yeah.
was so funny, that guy being on the phone with him. He died, but
Well, obviously.
yeah.
Dude, there's this donuts are huge in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And there's all these like Asian donut shop owners.
Huh.
And that's a very like Asian donut shop owner question.
Yeah.
It's like, can I have a dozen of these? And what else?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
It really
all
gets
this
you
stuff.
in there.
Because it's like you're looking at these glass cases, these well lit glass cases of things that you want anyway. And
I
you're like, well,
know.
I guess just keep shoveling shit into a box.
I've had a problem with online shopping lately.
Mhm.
Like, I think because I've just been traveling and we just moved, when I'm tired, I'm like, Etsy.
Yeah.
Like, it's so bad. I love the little surprise in the mail. You're like, what did I
Yeah.
order when I was high?
Dude, plus it's like, yeah, that's the thing where you surprise yourself.
Yeah.
You forget that dude, one time I ordered Kate Nash tickets just because I was like, man, I hope she's playing this weekend. I went on her website and I saw that she was playing on the date that I wanted her to play on. And so I
Whoa.
was living in Connecticut at the time and I bought tickets. And then I got the confirmation email and they were like, see you in Frankfurt, Germany on Saturday the 16th. And I was like,
No.
fuck, man, I have to read more. But tell me if you feel this way,
Uh-huh.
but I feel this way with food and like buying myself clothes and some stuff
Mhm.
sometimes where I'm like, we are our own bosses doing this stuff. And sometimes I work really hard and I feel like I deserve something.
Yeah.
And there's no one to like give you presents anymore. You're not a little kid.
Yeah.
So I'll buy myself like a pair of shoes or a pair of pants and I'll be like, yeah, that's because I drove fucking 8 hours. or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah.
I feel like that at the end of the night with food. I think of it as like a reward. I'm like, I was out all day. I did like, because
Yeah.
there's no boss, like, good job. Like, there's nothing. You're the one that's motivating yourself. You're the one that's getting yourself out there. You're the one that has to discipline yourself.
Yeah.
So it is. I do always feel like when I get home, I'm like, all right, that's the time.
Yeah. I
But
need something hot. It's 2
yeah,
o'clock in the morning.
yes, that's the
Pizza's always
time.
available.
Oh my God, it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your guilty pleasure 2 a.m. snack?
God, anything. I really like hot stuff for some reason. It's like I'm driving home. I had a big problem with just hitting any drive-through on the way home, and I have to really stop myself. Like even last night when I got to the hotel, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and you check into the hotel and they have that bullshit store,
Forget about it.
and I was like,
Forget about the
Smart
bullshit
Food,
store.
Snickers, little bag of Cheetos, peanut M&Ms, and you just eat whatever you could stomach at 2 o'clock, and then you
I
wake up
know.
and you're like actively trying to lose weight, and I'm eating Cheetos at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm 38, so my body's like, those two things don't work
That's not gonna
together."
happen.
Yeah, you can do as many push-ups as you want, you fat fuck. It's not gonna work out
It's like you can't make decisions at two. Like I feel like I need to have something crunchy, cheesy, gummy, and chocolate. Like
at
that's
the
my
same
problem.
time
I
too.
need like
Yeah.
yeah, all at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a sucker
Those
for like warm stuff. After I did something where I feel like I deserve
mm,
something, I'm like warm something.
the problem with like those hotel things is they jack up the price so much, but you don't even care because
Put it on the room.
I don't know where I am. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be paying $5 for this
Yeah.
Snickers.
I'm in Terrytown, so
Yeah.
I'll take the king size, please. Thank you so much.
We were just in Detroit, and so have you ever had a Coney dog?
Uh-huh.
I've never had a Coney dog, and I wanted one. We were only there for like 3 days,
Yeah.
and that just wasn't on the top of the list. So at the airport in the morning, I got a Coney dog, and it was up there with the worst decisions I've ever made.
Yeah.
It was a 8 a.m. airport hot dog with meat sauce, mustard, and onions.
Yeah, there's a window. There's a Coney dog window,
Oh,
and you missed it by about 12 hours.
yeah, and like it was so it didn't do it justice, I guess, because I kept asking audiences like, is the Coney dog worth? I have this thing where wherever I travel, I like love having the food of the place.
Smart.
Every single place like has its little weird food, even the smallest town that
Yeah.
you wouldn't think of. So I always like do my research about that. I feel like food really bonds people and it like makes you feel taken care of.
Dude, talking with somebody about a food that they get really excited about
Yeah.
is they're like, oh, I gotta try that to see if I have anything close to the feeling that you're having right now.
Today I got a bento box.
Hell yeah.
Forget about it. The way they organize those that food.
Even just visually, you open it up and you're like, oh, I get to eat a painting.
I know.
Yeah.
It's fucking incredible. So, are you Italian?
Very.
You are.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you fall into any Italian stereotypes?
Yeah. Trying desperately not to talk with my hands. I get angry pretty fast, depending on.
Why do we do that?
Like if I don't eat, I get angry real fast. And what else? I just get very passionate about things, and my skin is greasy. And this sounds cringy to say, but I love very passionately.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I'll die for your eyes or whatever. Blood of my blood. And yeah, I do a lot of stereotypical Italian things. And then I saw things in my family that I know that I didn't want to do. So I try to act more Greek in certain areas. I really have a good mix. It's like my mom's side of the family was Italian and Greek, and my dad's side was mainly just Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, if I could harness some Greek sometimes, I could avoid a lot of the pitfalls over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard when you like know the things that your parents did that you didn't love and then you see yourself doing them.
Yeah.
It's just
Unavoidable.
ugh, it makes me love my parents more because anything I carried resentment towards them for, I see myself doing and I'm like, this is just
Yeah.
It like alleviates some responsibility from them in a weird
Sure.
way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I know that like acknowledging behavior is the first step to anything, but I definitely like
Also, my dad worked really hard to like
yeah.
try to break the cycle of like really shitty, like abusive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like my grandfather was a big drinker and he was abusive. My dad never drank and never hit me or my mom ever.
That's awesome.
My mom cracked me across the face a couple times, but I definitely deserved it every single time. And she'll tell you. But it takes a lot to
Yeah.
like recognize behaviors and break the cycle. And you know, I had a very good upbringing in that way. I didn't get the shitty parents. I got very good parents.
What were you like in high school?
Just a slacker loser.
What does that mean?
Like if I didn't enjoy the thing, I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna do well in it. And like also I was kind of dyslexic, and I had like my parents were always baffled by me from a young age because I would do really good in this subject, and then I straight up wouldn't get these 4 or 5 things, and then I would nail this. So it would be like expert level, and they got me tested once, and I went to this doctor, and the doctor said I was borderline gifted, which I think just means normal guy. So I would
He's
be
almost
like,
gifted.
yeah, he's like, if he wanted to
Foreigner.
be, he could be really good at something he wanted to be good at. But it's like, if I didn't have the interest in it, or if I didn't get it right away, I would kind of be like, can't get it.
Yeah.
But then if I was passionate about something, I'd want to get this level and just like keep building on that. So it was frustrating. And I wasn't a great student, and I was a big procrastinator, piece of shit. And I caused my parents a lot of anger and discomfort with my study habits. And then you go to college, and you kind of it becomes a more elective based education.
Right.
And so as I could pick the things that I wanted to learn at, there was more of those like filling in the blanks of like, I think I would do good at this, so I'm going to take this class. And then the stuff, what do they call the core stuff? Like the core curriculum that you had to, like the prerequisites or whatever. I would just do bad in that shit. Like math, I was always bad at math. And then like I would learn about some part of history that I really liked, and I would nail that. Like I nailed all my Black Studies courses, and just stuff that was like legitimately interesting to me, art, poetry, like that kind of shit. And then if I wasn't interested in it, I would
It
just
was
be like,
fuck this.
sorry, what do I have to get to graduate? C minus? Okay, I will be getting a C minus. You can just put that on my report card right now. I will work no harder than that.
What did you study?
I was communications major, and then I double majored in film and communications, with a minor in like new media, TV and radio and stuff like
Whoa,
that.
that's so many things.
It does sound like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. But you're like, that's like when people. It's so funny when you're so used to something. Like I feel like I don't have tattoos because this is just my skin.
Yeah, you don't even see them. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't feel like I really have. I think I need to get more. So I'm like,
Yeah.
but I do. It's just weird because you're used to them.
I love the people who ask you how many you have.
Yeah.
Like you would have that answer.
Like I'm sitting at home counting.
Yeah. Or like you even, dude, if you know anyone who has 3 tattoos, they don't know how many tattoos they have. Because it's like you have kind of a disjointed sleeve.
Yes.
You have a bunch of stuff, but you have a sleeve of tattoos. You wouldn't be able to like be like, there's 28 tattoos on my arm.
100%.
Like, these are the tattoos I have on my arm.
That's what I actually had this conversation with a stranger recently. They're like,
perfect.
Yeah, they're like, how many tattoos do you have? And I'm like, I don't know what counts as a tattoo because like you get things in different sessions. One thing like my hand, I'm like, how many tattoos is that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
It
don't
was
know.
3, but now it's 1.
Right.
Right.
Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
And why do you care?
I think it's a bridge to a different conversation.
Yeah.
Because that's a question that's asked by somebody who doesn't have tattoos at all.
Right.
How many do you have?
What was your first tattoo?
I got my initials on this arm in the way that I used to sign like drawings and paintings and stuff.
That's cool.
And then my grandma passed away, and I got her nickname on this arm.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Do you and your wife have like matching tattoos?
We do.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't for a long time, and we thought it was weird, but if I could have one friend for the rest of my life and you had to tell me to get rid of all my friends and acquaintances, I would do it in a heartbeat for this person.
Aww.
And we both have this Roadrunner tattoo.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because one time we were in Palm Springs, and Roadrunner hopped up on the table and ate our pancakes. and we were trying to shoo it away, and the owner comes out and she was like, "Don't shoo it away. That's Billy. We all know Billy." It was like, "Oh, is Billy picking up the check?"
That's crazy. Sorry, Billy.
Yeah. So now every time we go to Palm Springs, we look for Billy and we have our tattoos.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's Billy.
Yeah,
I
dude.
like that when you're with someone that like makes shitty events like funny. Like even like Dan, he dropped the wet dog food face down on the floor, and he was like about to be so upset about it, and then he looked at me and I was laughing, so he started laughing, and it's like we'll just laugh, and it's like
Yeah.
about finding that person.
Yeah, dude. Especially when you find somebody you could travel with.
Yeah.
That's key. That's such a big test.
Yeah.
I always get weirded out when people need to get away from their wives or their husband, or think that they don't shit.
I know.
Or like, I can't be in a car with whoever for that long. I'm like, no, man. Looking forward to I had a show in Salem, Oregon, and she said she wanted to come. And I was like, well, that's amazing, because now I'll look forward to go to Salem, Oregon, because you're going to be there. Like, I love sitting on a plane next to her. I love being in a car with her for like hours and hours.
Yeah.
It's just fun to hang out with.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely think there's a fair share of comics that don't feel that way about their partners, but find what works for them. It's fun when you get to just hang out all the time.
Yeah.
I like that. It's Alicia, I really like her. She's Doug's girlfriend. She was also saying like people are always so surprised that we can travel together so well. And I guess that is like when you do travel well with someone, you don't even think like that's an issue that people have.
Yeah.
Although I've definitely traveled with people that like get angry and you're like, this is humiliating.
Yeah. 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 There's a lot of friends that I can't travel with that I like very much, that I just wouldn't be in the car for more than like an hour with. Even an hour in your car.
Yeah.
In your like personal space.
That's why I don't like giving people a ride home, because I'm like, we have to awkwardly I'm happy to give you a ride home if we just agree to listen to music.
Yeah, dude.
Like
I'm very quiet, and I love being quiet. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
And if you could be quiet with me, like my friend Heather will come over and we'll just not, we'll talk and we'll make jokes when it's appropriate, when we think of something. And then we'll just like not talk for hours. And that's my favorite. You could be like legit silent with someone. I've been on the road with people who I could be silent with through like states, through like Texas on the ground. And I've been on the road with people who are like, are you mad? Are you upset? Are you mad at me right now? And I'm like, it's getting there. Like, you have to shut up.
You have to be quiet.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I just want to be quiet all the time.
Me too. I forget who told Joe List this, but I think he told this story about how he was opening for someone, and someone gave him the advice to like, don't talk, just don't talk, and then they used him every single time because he just like didn't talk. Like, I just love that he just shut up.
Yeah.
And it's fine. There are people when you're like in a green room, you're like, I can't, like, but
people who try out the jokes in casual conversation.
Yeah, they're just excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so funny that was like the advice he was given and it worked for him.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I'm like, huh.
It's all about like if people could relax around you, regardless of how much you talk or don't talk. If people feel like they could be their true selves around you, and if you don't make people nervous with your presence, that is good. That's valuable to them.
Yeah.
They're always trying to relax. Everybody wants, especially comedians, everybody wants so much from you all the time.
Definitely.
It's like you're always giving of yourself, and then especially after the show, a headliner will do an hour.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. It's draining. You don't want somebody up your ass after that.
Do you do meet and greets after shows?
Sometimes if I have the energy for it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, if it's my show, I feel very obligated to sit and say thank you to everybody.
Yeah.
If I'm featuring for someone, I don't necessarily feel obligated to be there. If it's like a live podcast, I want to stay there because those are different types of fans.
Right.
Like the people who listen to Welcome to Our Podcast, or I have another podcast with my friend Steve called Dynamic Banter. And that's just like, it's not about anything. And it's just us being ourselves for an hour. And it's like, wacky as fuck, and there's so many people who have rode with us for so long that we all share a very specific sense of humor. So you want to sit there and you want to thank them for
Yeah.
just letting you be yourself.
I love that. Like
Yeah.
making you feel like you can be loved as yourself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a time check because
Hell yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
7:30. What day is it?
So we started
They don't tell you. You have to keep track.
No.
But they'll tell you when the thing shuts off.
Sometimes.
Nothing's been on for an hour.
Okay. What was I gonna? So, first of all, what's your astrological sign?
I don't know.
When's your
Depending on
birthday?
what magazine you read. I think it's mostly Scorpio, October 23rd.
So you're like cusp between Libra and Scorpio. I see.
Mhm.
I know. Okay. What is your wife?
March 27th.
So Pisces.
You're asking me like I
All
would
right.
be like, oh yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Okay. I like to pull a tarot card at the end of my podcast.
Sure.
So okay, I'll pull one for you.
Uh-huh.
And if you'd like, you can pull one for me, but it's not. Don't feel obligated.
I don't want to do that. That's too much pressure.
I know.
I don't like it.
All right.
How about I just wish you well?
Yeah, have a good day. The worst is when I'm streaming and I pull a tarot card that I don't want to read, and I'm like,
just knock them all off the
I
table.
don't like this one. I'm gonna pick another one. Like,
I have a friend who's like super into them.
Really?
Yeah, and she always wants to do it, and I'm like, I don't know, man.
Oh, this makes sense. The lovers. We're talking a lot about relationships, finding your person.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
So what does it mean?
Well, so I'm learning.
Like, I don't know. I just read the bottom and then the show
ends. You? Okay, I do have a booklet.
Okay. Let me consult the manual.
Yeah. I feel I'm learning.
Good. Hey, no shame.
No shame. We're all learning together.
This seems like one of those cards where you could deduce.
I know it is. It just means union, love, blend of opposites.
Uh-huh.
Understanding of the cosmic dance.
Yes, that is the one that I was gonna say.
So that I didn't remember, the understanding of the cosmic dance part. The lovers.
Yeah.
Some books are just so much. So I collect tarot decks, but I'm not at the point where I can read without a book, which is crazy. I really should be. And I've been but anyway, I got this beautiful tarot deck holder online.
Yeah.
And none of my tarot decks fit in it. It's really upsetting.
Are all tarot decks the same amount of cards? They all have the same cards?
All 76 cards.
Interesting. The art is always awesome.
That's why I like them so much.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, when the books are good or when it's a card that I know, I feel like it's affirming something or shifting my perspective or telling me something that, like, I need to hear.
Sure.
So
that's nice. It is nice to have something kind of seemingly at random, like whenever I'm in a rut, or I can't write or whatever, I'll put myself in some position that I wouldn't normally be in, and it just like awakens your mind to different possibilities stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the at-home version of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, all right. Where can people find you?
I love Instagram very much. So I'm pretty much at Mike Falzone everywhere. I think it's at Mike Falzone Comedy on TikTok, but I don't know what's going to happen to that. So come find me on Instagram, and I put all my dates on mikefalzone.com. And I have my 2 podcasts, Welcome to Our Podcast with my wife, and Dynamic Banter with my friend Steve Zaragoza. Welcome to Our Podcast comes out every Monday. DB comes out every Friday. I started a posting schedule for IG, so I put out something 5 days a week, all the weekdays.
Cool.
And then my show Surrounded is usually the beginning of every month at the Hollywood Improv. We just moved into the main room, which is really nerve-wracking, but it's such a cool experience.
Awesome.
Dude, it's like 250 people at a crowd work show. and it feels like wrestling because we're in the middle and there's just so many people around. So the next one of those is June 2nd, if anybody wants to come in Los Angeles. And that's it. That's mostly it.
And it sounds so fun doing it in the improv. I mean, moving all the seats like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen the room like situated so differently. That stage, it like really is one of those comedy milestone stages to me. So
yeah,
check out that show if you're in LA, or you travel with the show too.
Yeah, I think we're doing one in San Diego on the 31st. I've been lucky enough to do them at a lot of the JFL festivals.
Cool.
I haven't figured out the succinct way to say this yet, but me and JFL licensed the show to Meta. So it was one of the first comedy shows in like the metaverse on their so you could, if you have a headset, you can go into the Horizon Worlds or whatever the app is and see a surrounded show and be in the audience at a surrounded show that we did at JFL Montreal.
That's awesome.
And that one has Pete Holmes and Fortune Feemster, Motion, Natasha, Nicole Byer. Dude, it was awesome. It was hosted by Moses Storm.
Nice.
So yeah,
I like his special all white.
Yeah,
that was a cool stage.
He's great, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah. You know what? I really am growing more appreciation for comedians. I'm shifting my perspective. Not everyone. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah.
But I think being on the road, you can love everyone from afar.
That's true. That's 100%
yeah.
true.
So it's really like I don't know. It's a better perspective, I think.
Dude, someday the goal is to like live wherever you want to live.
Yeah.
And be the comedian that could do your podcast and then go out on the road and like have people wherever you go. And you don't necessarily have to be in New York or LA unless you really, really want to be there.
And who?
I don't know, man. I know people who are like ride or die New York, or I know people who are ride or die LA. And then I'm a very East Coast person, but I honestly love living in LA. I don't love all the people all the time.
Yeah.
Just because the personality is different than what I grew up with.
How is it different?
Because I feel like people on the East Coast are there's this saying that like people on the West Coast are nice but not kind, and people on the East Coast are kind but not nice. And I truly believe that. You know who hates saying that is everyone in the middle of the country. But if you honestly, you don't have the right to have an opinion on that if you haven't lived in both places.
I agree. And you know what? It's just fucking seeing the country. America really is a bunch of little countries.
Absolutely.
It really is. I mean, It's all just so different. You don't even, I learned so much as like, you want to be able to appeal to everyone. You want to be able to speak to everyone, and you really do need to travel in order to.
Yeah. And I've met amazing people like with the scene booming and everything in Austin. I've met amazing people in Austin. I've met people I can't stand in Austin. And it's everywhere, dude. There's always pockets of people that like, even if it's someplace you've never been and never thought you would be there, if you're yourself and you're, like all the stuff we talked about before, like having fun and working hard and putting your true self out there, your people will always gravitate towards you, even if it's just a handful of people here and there.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, everyone, thanks for watching the show. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/Natalie Cuomo. And guess what? There's 20 minutes of audio that we recorded that is not on YouTube. You can find it only on my Patreon, patreon.com/Natalie Cuomo. Thank you so much for subscribing, and we'll see you next week.